Good evening. This is a meeting of the Township Committee, February 19, 2019. The notice required was provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the 2 River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building, and filing with the Township Clerk all on January 10, 2019. Committeeman Heidel.
Here.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Here.
Committeeman Snow. Here. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Here.
Mayor Perry.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide, defending our constitutions, freedoms, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we have a presentation recognizing Middletown Fire Department firefighter and former fire chief. Frederick Gorsinger for 50 years of service. At this time, I'd like to invite Fred Gorsinger, Fire Chief Steve Schweitzer, and ex-Captain Frank Butler of Middletown Fire Company No. 1, and I guess Mayor Perry coming up.
Well, before I say anything, I'll obviously let our chief here kick it off.
So I'd like to go over Fred's service record. Joined the Middletown No. 1 Fire Company in February 18, 1969. Achieved the rank of lieutenant with the Middletown Fire Company and has served fire company president as well as recording secretary for over 30 years. Served as the captain of the Middletown Air Unit. Fred has also received unit citation awards and awards of merit for several fires. One in Keensburg Nursing Home, which was in 1981, which was a huge loss, and as well as Middletown in 1988, the Kings Row fire. In the past 5 years, Fred has also been named as top responder of the Middletown Fire Company. He is a second-generation fireman. His father was a past member. His brother is an ex-fire chief in Middletown Township. I can't think of anybody that does anything for 50 years. And that's a huge accomplishment. I'm honored here to be with you. Congratulate you on behalf of the chief.
On behalf of the Middletown Fire Company, in recognition of to Frederick Gorsinger for your 50 years of service to the Middletown Fire Company. Congratulations.
Not to pile on, but I guess after 50 years, you deserve all these awards and accolades. And you know, one of the great honors of sitting on the township committee is working with our fire department, being with them day in day out for drills and just the communication alone is second to none. Middletown really is all of our residents are truly served in the highest capacity and hold our firefighters in the highest regard. And there's really no words to describe other than thank you. Thank you for your service. So really quick, I will read this and I'll let former Chief Rick Heibel over here say a few words. But this says, the Township of Middletown honors Frederick Gorsinger for 50 years. Dedicated service to Middletown Fire Company No. 1. The Middletown Township Committee do hereby wish to take this opportunity to commend you for your 50 years of tireless volunteer service to the Middletown Township Fire Department and to our community. a second-generation firefighter. Your years with the Middletown Fire Company #1 as lieutenant, president, as well as recording secretary for over 30 years is impressive and appreciated. Congratulations on being the recipient of many awards, accolades through the years, including being named top responder with the fire company over the last 5 years. Your courage and your leadership has not gone unnoticed, and it's an honor and a privilege that you choose to call Middletown your home. So on behalf of the Township Committee, we want to present you with this, I really believe is the true honor and the greatest honor that we can give any member of any resident of Middletown, and that's the key to the city. You already got one of these? Yeah. I thought. That's
Well, this gentleman here, 50 years of service and 50 straight years. I was talking to the mayor and committee before. I think he is the brother of an ex-chief who I served with, who was underneath me. I really think that Freddie, because of this situation, deserves 2 keys. Anyone that knows these 2 guys here. So you might want to give him your key. The whole family is, the Gorsumier family is great. The wives that put up with this, what we do, it's a lot of work, and I just want to say congratulations to Fred, Station 8, Middletown #1. Good stuff, great stuff. Thank you, Fred, I really appreciate it.
Somebody's old. October 17th, October 1st, 2018, October 15th, 2018, November 19th, 2018, December 3rd, 2018, and December 17th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Mayor Kaiba.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve the minutes. At this time, we have public hearing for 2019-329 in proceeds of obligations not needed for the original purpose for the acquisition of radar units by the Township of Middletown, New Jersey.
Any member of the public wishing to speak on ordinance 2019-3245? Seeing no member of the public, move to close public portion and approve.
Second.
Committeeman Heibel.
Yes.
Committeeman San Marino.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. This time we have ordinance for public hearing 2019-3246, an ordinance providing funding for sidewalk improvements for the Township of Middletown and appropriating $395,000 for such purpose.
Any member of the public wishing to speak on ordinance number 2019-3246? Seeing no member of the public, I move to close public portion and approve.
Second.
Committeeman Heibel.
Yes.
Committeeman San Marino.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on second and final reading. This time we have ordinance for public hearing 2019-3247, ordinance amending recreation fees for summer recreation camp and gymnasium rentals.
Any member of the public wishing to speak on ordinance 2019-3247? Seeing no member of the public, move to close public portion and approve.
Second.
Committeeman Heibel.
Yes.
Committeeman San Marino.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. This time we have introduction of proposed ordinances, 2019-3248, an ordinance amending Middletown Department of Recreation program fees to establish refund policy.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Committeeman Heibel.
Yes.
Committeeman San Marino.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell. Yes. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held March 4th, 2019. At this time for introduction, we have 2019-3249, an ordinance amending Middletown Department of Recreation preschool program fees.
Move to introduce.
Second.
Committeeman Heibel.
Yes.
Committeeman San Marino.
Yes.
Committeewoman Snell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held March 4th, 2019. At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt the consent agenda, which would include resolutions 19-90 through 19-100, including bingo and raffle applications.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Committeeman Heibel.
Yes.
Committeeman San Marino.
Yes.
Committeeman Snell. Yes. Deputy Mayor Fiore.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt the consent agenda. This time we have Township Committee comments.
Committeewoman Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things I wanted to mention. A week ago, this past Saturday, we went over to Gravity Boat and climbed a wall with cops. Great turnout, and benefits went to Special Olympics. I think they did very well. Hopefully they'll do it again. All the kids had a great time, and I did make it up to the top of the wall. And also Mayor Perry and Kevin next door to me here were there too, and we had a great time. The second thing I'd like to talk about is I went to a fundraiser that freeholder Tom Arnone did out in Belmar at the Friendly Sons of Shalala, which was an awesome place. And he did a fundraiser with the Monmouth Ocean Federation for Children, the Shore Center for Children with Autism. It was a great event, and they really brought about fighting awareness there, and it was a nice conversation. And I think that with the growing numbers of children and adults with autism, for that matter, I think it was a wonderful event, and we had a great time. So I thank you, Mayor. That's it for me.
Thank you, Committeewoman Snell. Committeeman San Marino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing that Committeewoman Snell didn't mention about the climb with the cop is that when the cop said ready, set, go up to the top of the wall, the Mayor got an early start. So I think that he got to the top of the wall first. But it was about a 50-foot wall. We all had fun with it, and that was great for the Special Olympics. I did have the opportunity to attend a couple of other events. The American Institute of Architects, of which I'm a member, had asked Tony Mercatante, our administrator, and the governing body to present our delivery process to the AIA with regard to our municipal buildings. So they were very interested in that as an out-of-the-box delivery system that is certainly better for the taxpayers here and throughout the state, given the P3 legislation that has passed, the governor signed recently. So I attended that with our administrator at the Trent Country Club last week. I also had kicked off the third installment of the public information session for our microgrid study, and that was last Thursday at the Middletown Arts Center. The microgrid study is now completed, it's deemed complete, and submitted to the state of New Jersey. We are hopefully awaiting the ability to receive the next grant, which would be to start to design the microgrid. The difference difference with regard to this public presentation was the entrance of a potential partner that can execute the microgrid in conjunction with Naval Weapons Station Earl. So, although we've been discussing this for the past year, this really puts Middletown in a leadership position with regard to sustainable design and energy within the township, within the state. So, a really important step to understand how we move forward and be more sustainable in the township. And that is all I have this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brino, Community Highway.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Public Works and Ted for a great job during the snowstorm last week. It wasn't a lot of snow, but I drove past Baby School with my kids on the way to school, and saw a group of two guys shoveling the sidewalk about 90 miles an hour. And I dropped my kids off at school, and they were on Church Street doing the same thing there. And I haven't seen people working that fast, so I kind of stopped and thanked them. They just said to me, "We're trying to get this done before school. We're running a little bit behind." So these guys were working very, very hard. So I appreciate it. I told them that, and that's good work. To Fred and his family, 50 years of service. It's amazing that people have the time to commit to 50 years. I served as chief, and Fred was at, I want to say, almost every call. He owned a local business in town, and he was able to leave during the day. He was somebody they can always count on to be there if there was a problem. So him and his brother John, both 50 years of service. It's 100 years of great service that the fire department in this town was able to take advantage. So I do want to thank them. I also want to just give a shout out to the fire department and first aid. They had a busy couple weeks. I reported last meeting that they had a bunch of runs. They had another one today in Highlands. They assisted 2 weeks ago in Colts Neck. And we also had a fire on Saturday in East Kingsburg. All were good stops by us, East Kingsburg, very little damage in the house. The people were able to get back in there pretty quickly. But our volunteers really stuck to the plate when we needed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Man Highway. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things this evening. First, with respect to shared services, clearly tonight, if we passed Resolution 1990 with the shared service agreement, or renewal of the shared service agreement with Monmouth County Regional Health Commission, we continue to look as a committee for as many shared services as possible to maximize our tax dollars and make sure that we are operating as an administration as efficiently as possible. To that end, I serve on the Shared Services Committee with the Board of Education. We've had a few different meetings since this year started. I think we've had 2. It's a monthly meeting that we meet, and I think there's some really exciting shared services on the horizon that will benefit the students of this town, as well as be very mindful as best we can for the taxpayers. So more to come on that, but excited about a few things that I think we can do in conjunction with the Board of Education. In respect to, I should say, emergency services, I also extend my congratulations to Mr. Gorsinger for 50 years of service to our fire department. The family, the Gorsinger family, as my colleague Committeeman Heibel mentioned, is a tremendous family that gives just a tremendous amount back to this community. So I, as a resident, am very thankful to them for all that they do to service this township and the fire department and every other endeavor that they are a part of. So congratulations to Fred on a tremendous accomplishment. With respect, I see our police chief is here. With respect to police, clearly, sometimes the rumor mill gets a little crazy. And we are very fortunate here that we are such a safe community, and that is because of the tremendous job by our police chief and all of the officers that work underneath his leadership to keep Middletown not only one of the safest places to live, not only in Monmouth County or the state of New Jersey, but the United States. And, with respect to some of the decisions that we make as a committee sometimes, we also look for shared services and, how we can maximize, our efficiencies and provide better services to the residents. Sometimes that gets, that message could sometimes spiral a little bit when an incident occurs, and clearly there was an unfortunate incident last week in the Bayshore with an incident at McMahon Park. And I know there were some comments and some questions that came out about police dispatching and the decision that this committee made in 2016 to move to Monmouth County Dispatch. And, while there were some initial social media reaction when the police actually put out a statement and actually was able to respond from the initial call, and I think it was 3 minutes and 42 seconds, but I think they rounded it to 4 minutes, based on, how great and quickly that they respond to every call they get. It kind of leads to the question of, is public safety at risk by this change that we made, which not only saves the taxpayers, has saved the taxpayers a few $1 million over the last 3 years, but has also helped to provide much better, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, equipment for dispatching. And just so the public, we asked for some statistics, and just so the public can kind of get a sense of that decision 3 years later, there have been over 101,000 service calls made to 911 that the county has responded to in dispatch and freehold since 2016 we made this move, of which I believe there have been 96,000, if my number's right, 93,689 calls have actually been 911 emergencies. There have been a total of 16 instances that we've had to actually, follow up with in terms of some potential type of issue, maybe a wrong street or whatever the case could have been. So that's, from a statistical perspective, that is, less than 0.017 or some percent, or 0.017%. So it's in my opinion, a very strong move that we did there, and one that I know our police chief looks at in our administration at every call that's made to 911. So the public should rest assured that that decision was a good decision, that public safety is not at risk. And then finally, you see one of the things that we did today, Resolution 19100 of all, is a ratification of the SOA under contract. So I thank the police leadership of the SOA for working with the Township Committee to ratify their contract. Contract negotiations are never easy, I promise you that. They take a very long time, and there's a lot of moving parts. But this contract, I believe, and I think I can speak for my colleagues, is very fair both financially for the police officers, it's very fair financially for the taxpayers, and most importantly, it is a very balanced contract that actually gives and makes some significant changes to benefits that are going to be very impactful for the taxpayers while making sure that we compensate our tremendous police force. So that's a lot I said there, Mayor, in a very quick time, but I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll just quickly echo the comments of my colleagues up here for Captain Gorsinger. An incredible accomplishment. True Middletown family that has dedicated their life to public service. We can't be any more grateful, as I said, but him and his family should be very proud, and we as residents of the town should be incredibly grateful. to the Corsinger family. Just two things to note really quick. Our Public Information Office will be putting out shortly a listing of the mobile town halls that we have, that we announced earlier this year at our reorg. Those are coming up. We're doing 4 of them across town to provide members of the public the opportunity to sit down on a one-on-one session with different department heads, members of staff from all departments. Those dates are March 12th, March 14th, March 21st, and March 28th. And I apologize, I wanted to have March 12th is being held at the Lincoln Fire Company. This is coming out later through our Public Information Office. The 14th will be held at the Middletown Library. On March 21st, it is taking place, our mobile town hall is taking place at the VFW, Post 2179. And then finally, on the 28th, we're having our final mobile town hall at Fairview First Aid, which is on Canes Lane. So with that, I will open it up to the public for public comments. Just before I call up anybody, just please state your name, your address for the record. We ask that you adhere to 5 minutes. At 4 minutes, I will let you know that you have 1 minute left, so if you could begin to wrap up your comments, we would appreciate that. And again, just your name and your address for the record. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Barrett Teal. I live at 61 Prince Court. I met you, Mr. Perry, at the Bill Green meeting. I'm really here tonight to follow up with you on things I learned through at the time. You said that you were looking at a land swap with the county regarding Stevenson Park. And I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you regarding that. None of which will deal with, if you're getting into, I'm not getting into the details of what you may be doing, but I do have some questions regarding the substance of the plan. So, first of all, are you actually planning to give Stevenson Park to the county in exchange for county land?
We have only just had preliminary conversations with nothing of any substance yet.
So you have no substance to it yet?
No.
But you are looking into that?
We will continually have ongoing conversations with the county for a variety of issues. This is just one of many that we will have.
In the event that you do that, are you planning to give them Stevenson Park and the
We really shouldn't, so, I mean, I'll defer and ask the attorney for opinion, but should we really be, if we're having any contractual negotiations at all with the county, should we really be discussing them in a public setting if they are?
No.
You can talk about the concept, which is what I'm talking about. I'm not asking you any specifics.
Conceptually, Homedale did a land swap, so that actually spurred a conversation. That's about as far as I'd be willing to go.
I'll make another question. I'll give you one more question regarding Stevenson Park from history. When you made the decision to withdraw the request for a grant application in order to build a sports complex at Stevenson Park,
Soccer field, not sports complex.
Sports complex or soccer field. 9 soccer fields, I believe.
3. 2, I'm sorry, 2.
Go ahead, sir.
The numbers keep changing, apparently.
No, they've always been 2.
Well, the question is simple.
The grant application was for 2.
Whatever. So the question is simple. Was that decision based on the issues that we brought to you regarding traffic safety, quality of life, and destruction of ecosystems in the park? Or was that a decision based on political realities at the time that you might have lost an election? It was silly season.
Is that a question?
Is that a question or is it political?
It's a yes or no question. What was it based on? What did you make?
I'll speak for myself.
I'm not for election.
I'm not going to speak for any of the members of the Township Committee, whether they were on the ballot or not. But what I would say about this is that at the end of last year, when the grant application for 2 soccer fields went before the county, we are always going to take every comment that we get from the public into consideration. As I stated in my speech when I became mayor, that I was seeking, not hoping for, I was seeking comments from the public. I meant it. So you can classify it however you like, but that decision was made based in part, I mean, I used to live off West Front Street, so I understand the concerns that several members of the public brought up. And we made decisions based off of a variety of issues, but some of which, to whatever extent any member of the Township Committee can speak to, based off of public comment.
I'll accept that on face value. I believe what you're telling me is correct. But I will tell you this in regard to what you just said. If you made that decision based on the actual facts that were presented to you and the complexity and the problems that were going to exist in that complex, or whatever you choose to call it, why won't you consider putting a conservation easement on the park?
Sure, and as was said in the past, you brought this to our attention at several, and we've had private conversations as well about this. We have decided as a Township Committee, all the members up here were on the Township Committee at that time when we decided to pull the application. We are all now on this dais together that made that decision, then and now. So why aren't we considering a conservation easement? For the same reasons that we've discussed in private as we have in public, and that is that we are not going to tie the hands of future Township committees. And that is the reason, in part, that we are looking at what is possible. Can we have conversations with the county? Those will go on. Maybe nothing happens from this, but thank you.
Well, the only thing I would say in response to that is that if you made the right decision, and we believe you did, we think you made a very good decision when you decided to pull that grant. And the question is, as you said before, if you had answered earlier and said that it was a political decision.
It wasn't a political decision.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
It wasn't, your time is out, your 5 minutes is up, sir.
I don't believe it is.
It actually is. The court
Well, I'll
just,
talk a few moments more if you don't mind. You've given other people that opportunity.
no, that's up to the mayor.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, sir. If you could please.
I'll make
Thank
it
you.
very quick.
Thank you.
The point is that if in fact you made that decision as you did in the right way, the reality is that none of you on the board here, and none of you on this committee, are permanent members of the committee. Mr. Severino said in the meeting that I attended that he was assuring us that nothing would ever happen there. We had his word on it, essentially. And he said he was dismayed. I wrote him a letter about that. He was dismayed that we didn't take his word for it.
And I still am.
Well, that would be fine, except for the fact that our dismay is not at you. Our dismay is that you may not be on this committee next year.
And you should come to that committee and voice your concerns and your political will, if that's what you believe influencing committees.
So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Just your name and your address for the record. Good handle the council.
I'm Dan Minoli,
Sir.
I'm Dan Minoli, MI-09, I live at 377 Oakdale Road. I lived there 25 years, I've been working in Middletown for 30 years. I have two statements I'd like to make tonight. A petition regarding Mr. Howard Bay's prima facie conflict of interest in voting on the Fairview Cemetery gas utilizing cardiovascular dual furnace crematorium matter, and request a recusal from said matter going forward. While Mr. Howard Bay serves on the planning board, he has been associated with New Jersey Natural Gas Company for 30 years and apparently as an administrative title. Because of the proposed high volume incinerators being proposed for the Fairview Cemetery will use large amounts of gas, the tune calculated and shown in the paper of more than $50,000 a year and $500,000 in 10 years. Mr. Bray's company and possibly Mr. Bray's himself, in terms of extra or durable compensation, benefits, bonuses, stock options, and other perks, will greatly benefit in a blind approval of the project. To avoid even the incipient appearance of impropriety, conflict of interest, or other questionable decision, we ask that Mr. Bray recuse himself from any and all decisions regarding the upcoming Fairview Cemetery crematorium incinerator issue. whether Mr. Duane should ever be involved in other planning, construction decisions for the town, which results if approved into large consumption of natural gas. We leave that impartial judgment to our illustrious mayor. So that will be my first petition to the mayor on this matter. The second item I'd like to discuss is this crematorium in the middle of a residential environment. So I'm going to read the statement she'll have. Dear neighbor, stakeholders, and member of the Middletown government, Fairview's now planning to need to build a two-furnace crematorium within feet of our properties. Not only will this impact the value of our house, not only will it impact the revenues of the tax collection, not only will the reputation of the town with high-volume incineration be degraded, not only will the property unpleasant photos 365 days a year, but most critically, the proximity of flash-burning incinerators less than 0.7 miles on the average from 4 schools and the Forestry Park and the Forestry Pond and the Nevsey River will have severe cumulative health effects due to noxious emissions of mercury and other poisonous chemicals for the elementary school kids, middle school kids, and the high school kids, and kids visiting the park or the soccer field. And this is documented by several hundred medical papers, which are included in this paper, and we can extend that to thousands of medical papers. Mercury permanently affects the mental activity of children who all breathe it. The winds will bring an estimated 84 pounds of mercury a year to our neighborhood, and I will be glad to show those numbers as appropriate. All the way to the Garden State Parkway. But the prevailing west winds will not spare River Road, our friends at River Road, Ramson, Little Silver, Red Bank, and at least one elementary school of 35. The common northwest winds that hit all wind long will impact Forestry Park and the Nevsey waters. And the east winds, which get at times, will impact the 3 schools in our vicinity. We need to push back and insist that the Senate purchase a lot of nowhere. They designate that to be a cemetery in some rural area. Thank you. And they build a crematorium over here. Yet will say that the combustion of human remains produce many toxic byproducts, including radioactivity from people who had certain type of radiation-based cancer treatment, particularly prostate cancer and other cancers where radioactive particles are put into the body. We need to make a cogent case for Middletown not to develop a reputation of having putrid, fetid, and disease-causing incineration in town. We have none at this time and we don't want any. Not in a residential neighborhood and not at place close to elementary, middle, and high schools in nature center where kids wait for the bus every morning. We'll be glad to document all of this information and I'm ready to provide it back. Thank you for your time to answer the questions that you have or would like to address.
Thank you, sir. As you know, this was before, I believe this was before our zoning ordinance was denied. From what I understand, this is an active application.
That's correct. We received a letter on the fly, and there's a meeting tomorrow allegedly deciding the situation. It seems that the meeting got pushed off for a month, but we as citizens have no time to even prepare.
I don't believe it's tomorrow.
It's not tomorrow.
The letters that we received said February 20. We have the letter in our possession. But I'm told by the board that it should be canceled because the attorneys are too busy to come to the meeting. That's what the planning board.
Okay. Well, as I'm sure you know, the town, given the fact that this is an active application, the township committee is unable to make any public comments about this.
If anyone has a letter that would like to present it with the dates.
We believe you. They have to give a letter to any applicant, anybody living within 250 feet, so I'm sure they did, but I think the meeting has been carried.
Thank
And that's
you.
carried to March 20th.
March 20th.
And the attorneys were busy, so that's the reason for its postponement.
But we recommend that you take these concerns to the planning board at that appropriate time so that the planning board members can listen to your concerns with regard to that application and take that into consideration when they cast the vote.
Absolutely.
And will they be able to consider our...
We can't, that was going to tell us.
That is, I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to look at the entire letter that you've given me, but Mr. Bright would consult with the planning board attorney. The township committee doesn't request recusals from the planning board. Mr. Bright or the attorney would discuss that.
So if you brought that up in the planning board, and you brought that up, then they would have to make it.
Thank you, sir. Any other member of the public? Yes, ma'am. Just your name and your address for the record, please, when you get up to the mic.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Sharon Zebedee. I live at 27 Sugar Maple Drive. I also am concerned about the crematorium for proposal. I don't really know how this works.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys have to say or what, but and for the public record, I'd just like to state some of the concerns, and I'm going to say them in the form of a question, I suppose. Okay. First of all, I just want to state that I believe you, as our committee, believe you want what's best for this community, and that's why we voted for you. I do believe that, and I trust you'll stand up to do what's right for our community. My neighborhood, just to give you some background, I moved here when I was 9. I'm now 41 with my 3 children. I've lived in this community my whole life. I'm raising my family here. The fact that they want to build a factory that burns bodies across the street from where my kids go to school, that doesn't sit right with me. And the fact that I don't know the study is right, so I know there will be bodies burning and there will be emissions. I know that there's filters, and I know they have quote-unquote studies that say it's harmless. I have a hard time believing those studies have gone on long enough for us to believe that. I also have a hard time believing this will not affect my property value. It's my life. So for me, there's a lot of lines. My children, and it's my life, like my financial, nothing, right? And that's why we are going to feel very passionately about this. And also, we weren't given any notice. We're just now finding out about this in the community. Fairview has been a good neighbor all of these years. They're part of this community. The people who are buried there are part of this community forever, right? That's where they died. My parents have plots in that community that we already bought. So Fairview, we looked at it as a part of this community. But what they want to do is not being a good neighbor to this community anymore. And I'm curious as to, is this becoming a body burning factory? Where are these bodies going? Are they just coming through and shipped out? Or are these services that are being held? How many bodies are being burned?
That question right there, that question is the perfect, the planning board meeting, which whenever the date is, the upcoming meeting, these are all questions posed to their attorney and the applicant. You can ask them. We here on the Township Committee on this dais and part of the administration don't have those. We don't have those applications. Again, it would be improper for us to make any comments about an active application that could sway our planning board members in whatever direction.
We all have a view, and I think you could, I'm probably the committee person who lives closest, so clearly you could probably guess personal view would be, I can't disclose it, but unfortunately, an active land use application, we can't.
Okay, what?
Just one thing I should add to that, and that is the reason that the committee can't talk about this publicly is that the law sets up a very specific procedure for planning board applications. And they're supposed to be without political interference. So the planning boards will make their decision based upon evidence and testimony and facts that happen at the hearings. If you're asking the Township Committee to publicly support or oppose an application, you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because if it ever appeared that the planning board made a decision based upon quote-unquote pressure from the Township Committee, that decision is much easier to overturn than if they just base it on evidence. So that's why township committees don't speak about things like that, because it actually works against you.
Okay.
But we obviously would appreciate your comments.
There's just one thing to keep in mind is that this governing body, the mayor has an appointee on the planning board, and Committeewoman Snell to my left also sits on the planning board as a member in accordance with statute. There is a link between the governing body and the planning board, but the proper location for these comments are at that board meeting.
Okay. I mean, I have a ton of questions as to the legalities of this or the impact it will have, so I guess that March 20th, that's where I
Yes.
those questions, not for the public record here.
Just to be clear, this is only, any of these questions, presenting this here can only hurt your case, not help it,
Got it.
is what the administrator is trying to
And
say.
I certainly don't want to.
So the appropriate forum is at March 20th. Presumably, if the date changed, you'll get a new notice that has to be sent out by those attorneys. If they don't do the proper notice, that'll be an issue, I'm sure that'll be raised. So, anything here that the committee says is not going to help that in that process. This isn't testimony or evidence. This is a public hearing, but it's not testimony or evidence. But it can be used by attorneys in the case an application is denied, approved, or what have you. It can be used to try to overturn the planning board's determination. So,
Even if it's a public?
yes, it can be used if there's any indication that there's been prejudice towards the application. The savvy attorney can use that. So I think that what the committee and the administrator are trying to say is these questions, comments, considerations, while they appreciate them all, should be directed at that planning board hearing where they are part of that record, and where they will actually, where they count, so.
The March 20th won't be too late.
No, that's when.
That's the appropriate.
Just understand, these sorts of things usually take many, many months. Those hearings, doesn't happen, it rarely happens in one night, almost never.
Nothing that doesn't deal with that.
No, a long way from a done deal, but it's at those meetings, what'll happen is the applicant, Heritage Cemetery, will have testimony, and they'll submit evidence on the record. Then anyone else in the public has the opportunity to do the same thing. And it sounds like you have a lot of information on your neighbors here. So you can present that into evidence at the hearing as well. After all the evidence and testimony put in on the record there, then the planning board deliberates and makes a decision. But what I would suggest you do is just stay in touch with the planning department. Just call them to make sure, because sometimes they may be scheduled for a certain date, for whatever reason, attorney has a conflict or may have a conflict, get moved to another date. So it's not uncommon for these things to move many times before they're actually heard. So just stay in touch with that office.
Actual final decisions being made on March 20th, it's just kind of an open forum.
Well, I should never say never, but it almost never happens that they vote on something the first time it's heard. It usually takes several meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any other member of the public wishing? Yes, ma'am. Just your name and your address for the record.
Good evening, it's Marianne Clickman, 26 Harbor Green Circle, in the cross section of Middletown. Just have two quick questions. Regarding the preliminary discussion of the land swap with the county, which I know you cannot divulge any information according to your attorney, I would just like to ask you the following question. You recall how vociferously the community objected to a conceptual plan of a large sport complex, which started with the county request for a loan for a grant for just 2 fields. I wonder if you fast forward, similar to what happened with Homedale, and a swap is effective. Sure. And the county does own Easement part of the end. My question to you is, given the ET concerns that you have in the community and you said agrees it, and that's why you told the grant, would you then represent this community to request that the county not utilize this property for anything that was related to what would have been objectionable to the neighbors and all the reasons they gave, traffic, the quality and integrity of the park?
Yeah, I'm going to seek legal counsel. I
because of course, once it's the county's, it's kind of your decision.
I mean, we-
Yeah, I could always make a comment. In the hypothetical situation that we're talking, I could always make a comment. I just wanted to verify that before I said anything. And as I said, I would most definitely, in this hypothetical situation, I would speak in support of the concerns that the community had, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Which the community also did to the county, which played in our decision.
Sure.
Very
Okay, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I said, which the community also did to the county freeholders, which played in our decision matrix, pull the grant out.
Oh, okay. Okay, and I just wanted a second question. One of the reasons, one of the things you mentioned when you pulled that application is that you had identified property that the school owned to Bayview that could fulfill the need that you claimed you had for additional soccer field. My question is, what is the status of that?
So, as a part of the shared services meeting that Deputy Mayor Fiore and I've been a member representing the last two meetings that we've had, that is still on our shared services agenda. Our engineering and our administrator have been working on the exact layout of what something could potentially look like at Bayview. We've also taken a look at a number of other locations and how we might be able to restructure or reinvent certain areas. So those conversations are still ongoing. They're still obviously an objective of ours, and we'll continue to do that through our shared services. I know we have one member of the school board here, Joan Minilees, who's here. She's not on our shared services board representing them, but it is a member, and we appreciate, the conversations, I can say personally, the conversations that we've been having with the president, vice president, members of the shared services committee have been incredibly productive the last 2 months, and I appreciate that conversation, that ongoing dialogue, and we'll continue to do that in Bayview, and as well as the other fields across town will still and stay on the agenda for our shared services meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much. Any other members? Yes, Leo. Leo, your name and address for the record, sir. And at 4 minutes, I'll let you know when you have 1 minute left and you can wrap it up, sir.
Leo Christoph, 121 Cranberry Court, Middletown. I had not intended to speak tonight, but an issue came up. So I'd like to address what was been on my mind for a couple months. In effect, if you check the minutes going back to August, the minutes, full minutes would indicate that this body of 5 committee persons have in effect given informal verbal guarantee of a conservation easement on building anything, I guess, on the Stevenson acreage. That's a fact, okay? Whether you're honorable when you make this statement, because I went down the list, each one of you, 5 of you, answered the question that you would not move anything from this bench to wherever you sit, the movable bench, whatever, that you would not introduce the issue of building a sports complex or anything else. So my proposal is that, in effect, that there is an informal guarantee of a conservation easement in your minutes, okay? And in my memory, in the memory of some other people here, that you come up with a informal, perhaps written memorandum of record, which would create a moratorium with certain parameters, self-striking statements, the date they erase themselves, and it would seem to me it would cause a moratorium to do anything from this governing body until 3 members sitting here, the majority, have left the committee. And then it would have to be negotiated all over again, but it's only a verbal guarantee
of a conservation easement right now.
So let me get this straight. So your proposal is that there have to be no fewer than 3 of the 5 sitting township committee members here to provide a moratorium, at which time, if at any time it got to less than 3, that conservation easement would
The
cease.
moratorium is over. It ends. And it has to be
Well,
renegotiated.
politically, that's probably the greatest thing in the world, right? But I'm not sure that's,
Thank you.
that's either legal.
I think an informal guarantee
Yeah.
is not more.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think our legal counsel, I think our Mr. Nelson would probably say that's not.
It could give you a lot of reason to keep 3 of us up here, I guess.
A memorandum of record would be more binding, if it's not binding, it would be more binding than a verbal agreement. Personally, I trust you. I take you at your word. I take a lot of people at the word, and we'll see whether they honor their word. Time will tell. But it's a practical thing to do. If you need any more, we don't need to drag it out now, but maybe you have some other ideas about it. But I think you understand me well enough.
That is innovative, I mean that.
And I want to reserve my time, okay?
Yeah, you got it, Leo. Your time is now reserved. See you next month. Any other member of the public wishing to make a comment? Yes, sir. Leo, are you yielding your time to this gentleman or not? To yourself? Your name and address.
Good evening, my name is Andrew Clark, I live at 10 Basket Court, and I'd just like to come here and voice my opinion about the crematory that is being proposed. I'm just looking to make my voice heard and just have my statement be part of the public record. My wife and I, Kelly, my wife Kelly and I, we moved here to Middletown about 2012, and we absolutely love this town. With our 2 boys, Patrick and Brendan, we see a bright future in Middletown, but now that is currently, I believe, in jeopardy due to this crematorium. I live very close to that proposed crematorium, however, not close enough to get a notice within 200 feet. I see this crematorium as being very dangerous for my 2 children. I also see this very dangerous for the children of my neighborhood and several neighborhoods within Middletown. As a teacher, and noticing how close this is to several schools within Middletown, I just can't think about the link that Mercury has to autism. I'm very concerned for the children of Middletown if this crematorium is put forward. Additionally, I was the leader of RAGE who fought against the power lines. I spent 2 years advocating against this dangerous and unnecessary plan. We successfully won, and here I am 6 months later thinking about how this crematorium can pretty much undo a lot of the work that we did to protect our homes, our community, our children, and our neighborhoods. As a member of Middletown, I'm very much opposed to this dangerous and unnecessary plan for this crematorium, just feet within residential communities. I don't understand how we can put a crematorium in the middle of residential areas surrounded by schools and a nature conservatory. I am one, but as of right now, there's about 900 people who have signed an online petition advocating to stop this dangerous and unnecessary proposal. We just found out about it a couple days ago, and I'm sure our numbers will be growing. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other member of the public wishing to speak? Seeing no other member of the public, move to close public portion and adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.